Hi, I'm Tanya, and I recently went through a divorce. I want to share my story because I hope it can help someone going through a similar situation. Maybe my experience can offer some guidance or comfort. A little background about me: my parents split up when I was just 7 years old. My dad was a Navy SEAL, so he was away from home a lot. Eventually, my parents' relationship fell apart. My mom remarried a man named Paul, and I ended up living with them. Unfortunately, Paul was abusive to me. The worst part? My mom knew but loved Paul too much to do anything about it. She just pretended it wasn't happening. My dad would visit sometimes, and when he did, I would spend the weekend with him. But being young and scared, I never told him what was happening at home. My dad and I were always really close. He made me feel like I was the most important person in his life. One day when I was almost done with middle school, I went to the beach with my dad. I was wearing beach shorts, and he noticed some bruises on my legs. "Hey, what's that on your leg?" he asked. I tried to brush it off, saying I just got hurt, but he was concerned. He asked if I was hiding something. I finally told him the truth, that Paul was cruel to me and sometimes hit me. My dad was furious and promised that it would end right away. He took me to live with him and got full custody of me after legal proceedings. Life with my dad was much better. Because of his work, I sometimes stayed at my aunt's house nearby. My mom tried to apologize and reconnect, but eventually she cut me off. To be honest, I was never as close to her as I was to my dad. I went on to medical school, earned my degree, and became a licensed cardiologist. It was always my dream, and my dad and aunt were incredibly proud of me. They were the only family I had at that point. I'm not very outgoing, but I had a few close friends. As a doctor, I learned to be warm and approachable, and surprisingly, I became good at it. I met my husband Justin at a karaoke bar. Normally, I wouldn't have gone there, but it was my friend's birthday. Justin needed a partner for a duet, and since I thought he was cute, my friends pushed me to join him. We had a great time, exchanged numbers, and started dating. My dad liked him right away because Justin was kind and likable. He worked as a marketing assistant in the corporate world and gave me the love and care I had missed before my dad took me in. A year into our relationship, Justin took me back to the same karaoke bar where we first met and proposed to me. "I think it's time for us to start the family we've always talked about." "What do you mean, babe?" I asked. "Tanya, there's something I've been wanting to ask you for a while now," Justin replied. "What is it?" I asked, curious. Justin took a deep breath. "When we first met at that karaoke bar, I had no idea I was meeting the love of my life. You've brought so much happiness and warmth into my life, and I can't imagine spending it with anyone else. Will you marry me?" "Oh baby, yes," I said, feeling a rush of emotions. To be honest, while some people might find it perfectly okay to get married within a year, it felt a bit early for me, especially with the emotional walls I had built over time. I said yes in the moment, but afterward I had a lot of thoughts about it. I loved Justin deeply, but I was afraid that if I asked for more time, he might consider ending our relationship, so I decided to go along with it. We had a very private wedding ceremony. I invited my mother, but she didn't show up, which was disappointing because, after all, she was my mother. However, my dad was there, and I was immensely grateful for his presence. He walked me down the aisle, and I was officially married to Justin. A year into our marriage, we were blessed with a beautiful baby girl. I remember after my delivery, the room was filled with balloons and flowers as everyone came to visit: my dad, Justin, and his parents. As a new mother, I decided to take some time off work to be with my daughter. That early time with Amanda was incredible, and I still cherish every moment of her babyhood. There's truly nothing as beautiful as bringing a child into this world. It's a testament to the wonders of life. Justin was working during this time, but eventually I had to return to my job. Justin was amazing as a dad. He had a knack for being super playful and gentle with our daughter. I mean, the guy would even let her put makeup on his face. He was a real sweetheart as a dad. But here's the thing, with both of us going back to work, we decided to hire a nanny to look after Amanda. She was a little bundle of energy, and we wanted her to have the best care while we were away. After some time, I got pregnant again, and then, out of the blue, came the big surprise. The doctor told us we weren't just expecting one more addition to our family, we were having twins. It wasn't exactly what we had planned for, but it brought a huge amount of joy into our lives. Little did we know that with the arrival of our children, the dynamics of our marriage were about to change. Justin never openly said it, but I started to sense that he wasn't thrilled about the fact that I earned more than him. I really picked up on this when our friends Carrie and Dylan came over for dinner during my 3rd trimester. "So how are you guys feeling about the babies on the way?" Dylan asked. "Oh, we're excited." "A little nervous, but mostly excited," Justin answered. "Speaking of babies, have you guys thought about names yet?" Carrie asked. "Yes, we've been brainstorming. We want something unique, but not too out there, you know," I replied. "Any favorites so far?" Carrie continued. "We've tossed around a few ideas, but we haven't settled on anything yet," I said. "How about family names? Those can be really meaningful," Carrie suggested. "Absolutely. We've been shopping a lot lately, looking at strollers that can accommodate multiple babies. It's been overwhelming, but we'll figure it out," Justin added. "It's amazing how much stuff you need for 2 babies, right?" Dylan said. "Tell me about it. Our checklist keeps getting longer," Justin replied. "Tanya, do you miss being at work?" Carrie asked. "A bit," I admitted. "You know, being a doctor is tough, but when you treat people and help them, it just feels so good to see their smiles." "Wow, a corporate worker and a doctor. Do you even manage to find time to make all these babies?" Dylan joked. "Ah, come on," Justin laughed, but then Dylan added, "I'm pretty sure your wife must be the money bag in the house, huh?" "Well, you know how it is, Dylan," Justin replied with a forced smile. "I actually earn more than Tanya." "Ask Crew this, let's bring out the dessert," Justin said casually. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Why would he lie about something like that? After Dylan and Carrie left, while we were doing the dishes, I decided to confront him. "Justin, can we talk for a moment?" I asked. "Sure, what's on your mind?" he replied. "You said you earn more than me, that's not true, is it?" "No, it's not true," Justin admitted, looking down. "Why on earth would you lie about something like that?" I asked, feeling confused. "I don't know, T, I guess I was just embarrassed. It felt awkward," he said quietly. "Embarrassed? I had no idea this was such a sensitive topic for you," I said, trying to understand. "I'm not sensitive, T, I'm a man, and I should be the one in charge," Justin snapped. "You've never complained about it before. What's got you so worked up now?" "I just don't want people to think I'm some kind of loser, okay? Justin, if it works for us, it works for us. Who cares what other people think?" "Yeah, whatever," he muttered. His response left me feeling uncomfortable. It came across as somewhat misogynistic. What was the problem if our arrangement worked for us? I never had an issue with having a husband who contributed less financially. After all, money isn't what keeps a family together. At that point, I had a lot on my plate, so I didn't dwell on it too much. 2 months later, the big day finally arrived. My pregnancy had been complicated, but eventually I gave birth to twin baby boys. I held my precious little boys, Abe and Leon, with both hands in the hospital bed. "Our family feels complete, baby. You've made me the happiest man alive. I love you," Justin said, beaming. "It wasn't all me, babe," I replied, smiling. "Amanda, look at your baby brothers. Aren't they so cute?" I asked, turning to our daughter. "Baby brothers?" Amanda asked with wide eyes. "Yes, sweetheart. Do you want to sit next to Mom?" I offered. "Yes," she said eagerly. "Say hello to your baby brothers, Amanda," I encouraged her. "Hi," Amanda said softly. At that moment, I felt an overwhelming sense of contentment with my life. I dreamed of being the best mom to all my kids, something I never got from my mother. My deepest desire was to provide them with everything they wished for and shield them from all the bad things in the world. Soon after, we took the babies home, and the nursery was all set up for them. Justin and I both took some time off work. When Justin eventually returned to the office, things got really tough at home. Juggling the care of the babies and Amanda was exhausting, and we were in a tight spot financially. Things weren't exactly rosy. I had a strong desire to give my family the best of everything, and I had the means to do so, but we also needed a parent at home to take care of the kids. It was a challenging situation, and we needed to find a way to make it work. The issue was the significant income gap between us. Justin brought in only $30,000 a year, while I earned $150,000 a year. You could see the difference. From my perspective, it made sense for me to continue working. I had a good career and a well-paying job with potential for salary growth. I thought I would talk things out with Justin, and he would understand my viewpoint, but things didn't go as planned. After dinner, Justin and I were in the twins' room, checking up on them. 3 kids. We always planned for 2, but I'm not complaining. They're so cute, Justin said. Yeah, they are. Well, I want to talk to you about something, I began. Sure, what's on your mind, he asked. We need to secure all our kids' futures, you know? I know I might be thinking too far ahead, but we can provide them with better opportunities. We can even help them with their college if they need it, I explained. You're right, Justin agreed. If I continue with my job, we can save more. And if I work for a few more years, I'll likely get a raise, I said, feeling hopeful. That would be amazing, but who will stay with the kids at home while we're working? Justin asked. What if you quit working and stay home to take care of the kids? I suggested. Are you kidding me? No way, we get along with them so well. Justin responded, looking shocked. What I mean is, I am the man of the house. Just because you have a higher paying job doesn't make you the decision maker, Justin said, his voice growing tense. Justin, are you kidding me? Can't you see we would have a better life if I went to work instead? Seriously, is your ego that fragile that taking care of the kids makes you think you're less of a man? I asked, my frustration boiling over. Justin looked furious, something I had never expected. He raised his hand and slapped me across the face. How dare you say that to me? You're trying to be the boss, aren't you? Just stay in your place, do what you're told, and listen to me. Justin shouted before leaving the room, leaving me in shock. I couldn't believe what had just happened. How could my husband, the father of my children, someone I thought loved me, do this? I was devastated, angry, and scared all at once. I didn't know what he might do next if I made another mistake. That night, I couldn't sleep. I spent the night on the couch, thinking about my options. I knew I had to leave this marriage, not just for me, but for the kids too. I remembered going through something similar when I was young, with my mom's husband Paul. My dad had taught me what a real man should be like after that experience. Suddenly, one of the twins started crying on the baby monitor, and it hit me. The baby monitor in the twins' room must have recorded everything that happened. I had proof. The first thing I did was save the footage, and then I started forming a plan. I waited until morning, making sure Justin and the kids were still asleep. Then I called my dad. Good morning, Bunny, my dad answered. Hey Dad, you're calling me so early today. Is everything all right? No, Dad, something happened last night. I need help, I said, trying to keep calm. What happened? Are you safe? My dad asked, his voice full of concern. For now, yes. But last night Justin and I argued and he slapped me, I explained. What? How dare he? Why did you wait all night to call me? He exclaimed. I didn't know what to do, Dad, I admitted. Sweetheart, remember what I've always said. I'm here for you whenever you need me. I mean it, he reassured me. Well, Dad, the thing is, all of this happened in the twins' room, and it was recorded on the baby monitor, I said. Bingo, we have proof. We're going to get him. I know some people in law enforcement. Honey, stay put. Where is Justin right now? He asked. He's still sleeping, I replied. Send me that video and get the kids ready. I'm coming, he instructed. I quickly woke up Amanda and gathered the twins, packing a bag for them. I forwarded the recording to my dad and waited anxiously in the living room. Just 15 minutes after the phone call, there was loud knocking on the door. As I approached, I heard Justin coming down the stairs. Who's at the door? Why are the babies here? What's going on? Justin asked, confused. Open the door. It's the police. A voice shouted. The police? Who called them? Justin rushed down the stairs as I opened the door. The first person to enter was my dad, who hugged me tightly. Thank God you're safe, honey. I'm so sorry this happened, he said. You're under arrest for assaulting your wife. Anything you say can and will be used against you in court. You have the right to an attorney. If you can't afford one will be provided for you. The police officer said as he handcuffed Justin. Is this about last night? You've got it all wrong. It was just a big misunderstanding. Justin protested. Get these cuffs off me. You're going to pay for this. I promise, Justin shouted angrily. My dad stepped in, his voice firm. I will break your jaw if you ever speak to my daughter like that again. Consider yourself lucky I didn't handle this myself. Take him, officer. After that, my dad drove me and the kids to his house. Both Justin and I hired lawyers, and there was a lot of courtroom drama. Surprisingly, Justin's criminal record included a bar fight where someone ended up hospitalized for a month. I had no idea about this. As a result, Justin was sentenced to 3 months in jail. I sent him the divorce papers and gained full custody of the children. Justin wasn't granted any visitation rights. I had a lot to figure out, but my dad offered a solution. You know, I'm retired. If you'd like, we can take care of the kids here until you figure things out. No pressure, he suggested. Dad, that would mean a lot to me while I sort everything out, I said, feeling relieved. By the way, I've met someone named Kathy. She brings me a lot of joy. Would you mind if she moved in here too? I already asked her before all this happened, but I was going to tell you, he added. Dad, I'm more than happy for you. I'm glad you found someone. You can return to work, and Kathy and I will look after the kids, I replied, smiling. 6 months have passed since we moved into my dad's house, and a lot has changed. Justin was released from jail, but hasn't tried to contact me. I've gone back to work and met Kathy, who is kind, wise, and affectionate. She even gives me motherly advice, filling a void I didn't know I had. All my kids are healthy, and Amanda has started preschool. I know I still need time to fully heal from everything, but I'm grateful for what I have. For now, I'm focusing on my work and my kids. It may take time, but surrounded by my family's love, I know I'll find my way.
I'll never forget the shock of bumping into my husband at a friend's baby shower. It seemed Jessica was unaware that Kyle and I were married, let alone that they had a child together. I envy how happy you two seem, I said awkwardly, feeling like the odd one out in our once close trio. Jessica beamed. Kyle nodded awkwardly. But I knew the truth. I knew Kyle well enough to know he'd say things like pregnancy isn't an illness, so don't be lazy, offering no help to his pregnant wife. The fact that he would cheat on me with our best friend was unforgivable. My resolve was set. I would make Kyle lose everything. My name is Ashley, a beautician in a cozy regional city where I was born and raised. It's not as flashy as downtown, but it's home with a strong sense of community. Kyle and I were high school classmates, known as the couple everyone expected to marry. When people asked about Kyle, I always knew where he was, which led to teasing about being a good future wife. Jessica, another member of our trio, was always dreaming of going abroad, immersed in music and distant aspirations. She excelled academically and eventually studied overseas. After graduation, our contact dwindled to sporadic emails. Meanwhile, I pursued my passion for beauty, attending vocational school, and joining my family's salon. Kyle attended a local university and joined his family's beauty product business, which partnered with my family's salon, fueling gossip about our relationship. Quiet and reserved, Kyle was the opposite of me, yet we somehow clicked. Our relationship evolved naturally from high school, culminating in marriage without a formal proposal. We bought a spacious house and embarked on our new life. When I joyfully announced my pregnancy, expecting Kyle's happiness, his indifference stung. "Oh, is that so? Aren't you happy?" he replied, absorbed in his phone. Disappointed, I faced a tough pregnancy, forced to take early maternity leave due to health issues. Kyle's lack of empathy surfaced as he cited maternity leave regulations and criticized my reduced workload. "Pregnancy isn't an illness," he'd say callously, expecting me to maintain household chores despite my health challenges. Raised in a household where men didn't do housework, Kyle was clueless about domestic tasks, adding to my frustration. His disregard for my needs and his insensitive remarks about my pregnancy drove a wedge between us. As I navigated these challenges, Kyle's attitude worsened, leaving me feeling isolated and resentful. His habit of belittling me and prioritizing his comfort over my well-being pushed me to a breaking point. I attempted to excuse myself, saying I needed to use the bathroom, but he snapped, "I'm not done talking yet." And during his lengthy lecture, I'd barely made it to the bathroom in time. From behind me, I could hear Kyle's mocking comment, "That's so uncool." When we first married, I found Kyle's calm demeanor appealing. But since becoming pregnant, everything seemed to backfire. Instead of supporting me, he compared me to various cases he read about online. That celebrity returned to work immediately after giving birth and looked perfect. "You'll be the same, right?" "I don't know. Don't compare me so easily to such incredible people." We're both human, I replied, feeling the weight of Kyle's high expectations. He easily believed dubious information from the internet, turning our conversations into unpleasant arguments. Around the same time I got pregnant, Kyle started spending less time at home. Arguments like these were part of the reason, but he also began going out at night and on weekends, claiming it was for work. This new behavior was unlike our previous life together and far from the involved father figure society now expects. One night, when Kyle came home late, I decided to confront him. You've been busy with work recently, haven't you? I'm trying to attract new clients. It's none of your business, he retorted sharply. But Kyle, have you been drinking? This isn't like you. This is part of my job now. Stop nagging, he replied loudly enough that the neighbors could probably hear. I could smell alcohol on his breath, a stark contrast to how he had been before. You never had to drink for work before. What's going on? You wouldn't understand. Basically, you are. His words trailed off into another round of sarcastic remarks, leaving me frustrated and uncertain about our future. I work hard every day, and all you do is lay around at home. This doesn't make working worthwhile, Kyle accused, his voice filled with frustration. I'm not just lazing around. I'm quite busy preparing for the birth, I defended myself, struggling to hold back tears. That's no excuse to neglect housework. You hardly put on makeup anymore. It's like you're giving up on being a woman just because you're pregnant, he continued, his words cutting deep. Holding back tears that threatened to spill, I turned to put Kyle's bag back on the shelf. As I did, a small object fell to the floor with a clink. What's this? I asked, picking up the wireless earbuds casually and examining them. They were small, shaped like earrings in a cute pink color that seemed designed to appeal to women. Don't you dare touch my bag without permission. That's an invasion of privacy, Kyle snapped sharply. It's not unusual for me to do this, but Kyle, you don't usually use earbuds. Are these someone else's? We should probably return them, I suggested calmly. That's for me to worry about. Just focus on your housework. Why can't you even get that right? Kyle's reaction was unexpectedly intense for simply pointing out a lost item. As I opened my mouth to speak further, I felt a dull impact on my stomach. Kyle had kicked me. Don't forget that you're being supported by me. If you keep interfering, I'll have to reconsider things, he threatened before storming off to his room. Confused and hurt, I couldn't comprehend what had just happened. Tears finally escaped as I stood there, feeling alone and unsure about our future. I sat on the floor, stunned, replaying the recent events in my mind. It didn't make sense why I deserved to be kicked. Kyle's reaction was incomprehensible to me. The next day, for safety's sake, I went to the hospital to check on my stomach. I couldn't bring myself to admit that my husband had kicked me, so I lied, saying I had fallen at home. Fortunately, the baby was fine, but the area where I had been kicked was bruised and sore. Amidst this turmoil, some good news arrived. My best friend Jessica had given birth. I knew she had studied abroad and found a job there, but apparently she had returned to the US. I had hoped to bring Kyle along for a reunion of our close trio, but he was away on a business trip. Reluctantly, I went alone to congratulate her. In her bright hospital room, Jessica lay on the bed with a relieved expression. As I entered, she managed to sit up slightly. It's been so long. Congratulations on the birth, I greeted her. Thank you. I actually came back to the US about a year ago but couldn't contact you. I'm sorry. I'm just glad the baby was born safely, Jessica replied, looking more polished and mature than during our student days. Beside her pillow lay the same earbuds I had found in Kyle's belongings. She seemed to notice my gaze. Oh, they're my favorite. I lost one the other day, but my boyfriend found it for me. Really? What's your husband like? I asked, curious. We haven't registered our marriage yet. Actually, he is. Her words were interrupted by a knock on the door. To my surprise, Kyle entered the room. I was too shocked to say anything. Surprise, right? I'm currently dating Kyle, Jessica announced casually, unaware that Kyle and I were married, innocently smiling at me. Hey, welcome. Long time no see, Kyle greeted, his nonchalant attitude heightening my confusion. It's a reunion of our close trio. I started seeing Kyle again after returning to the US. We're planning to get married, but we've been busy with paperwork. I see. Actually, as you can see, I'm pregnant too, I replied calmly, feeling overwhelmed but determined to protect myself and my child. I pondered the best way to handle the situation. I must protect this child and myself, I reminded myself. My husband is away on business now. I really wanted to bring him today, but I couldn't, I added, feeling a pang of regret. That's a shame. I wanted to meet Ashley's husband, Jessica commented. It really is a pity, but having a husband like yours who accompanies you is definitely better. My boyfriend hardly helps at all. I glared at Kyle discreetly, but he deliberately looked away. You two look so happy together, Jessica remarked, oblivious to the tension. The only one left out of our close-knit trio, Jessica, Kyle. I hope you'll always be happy, no matter what, I said, trying to maintain a composed demeanor. Jessica nodded with a beaming smile, while Kyle nodded awkwardly. Oh, this is for the baby shower. I heard bids are always useful, so I bought some, Jessica said, changing the subject, offering the gift with a warm gesture. I even got matching ones for my baby. They're cute. Thank you, Jessica exclaimed happily. You must be excited for your baby too, Ashley. Yes, once I have a healthy baby, we should all go out together, I replied warmly. At the mention of all, Kyle's shoulders twitched. I pretended not to notice and smiled brightly. By the way, can we take a photo? Jessica asked suddenly. She held the baby and Kyle stood next to her. I forced a smile and agreed. After the photo, I excused myself from the hospital room. Before I knew it, my breathing became ragged and my shoulders heaved. Beyond the door, I could hear Jessica's excited voice and Kyle's low responses. Leaving the hospital, I rushed home. Opening my phone, I contacted a real estate agent immediately. Hello, I know this is sudden, but I want to sell my house, I explained urgently. Yes, you can list it right away. I'll complete the paperwork quickly. Also, could you recommend a moving company? I asked, arranging everything swiftly through the agent's connections. Next, I called Kyle's mother. Due to an urgent situation with Kyle, I'm sending some belongings your way. There will be a lot, so please don't be surprised, I informed her, deciding to erase any trace of our shared home. Kyle had mentioned he would be on a business trip until tomorrow, likely planning to stay elsewhere tonight. Though I wanted to send his belongings directly to his parents' house, I hesitated not to shock my mother-in-law. At least informing her was the least I could do. After finalizing these arrangements, I noticed a series of missed calls from Kyle. In fact, he had been trying to reach me continuously since I left the hospital. Ignoring the calls, I calmly drank water. Then a message appeared. Let's talk things over, just the two of us. But what was there to discuss in this state? Moreover, after being kicked in the stomach, my wariness of Kyle had transformed into deep distrust, and I couldn't bear to hear his voice anymore. Immediately upon arriving home, I began packing. I entered Kyle's room and started stuffing his belongings into boxes. Thankfully, it was the off-season for moving, so I signed up for a plan that included packing assistance. The shipping went smoother than expected, and soon, only my belongings remained. My parents came over promptly upon my request, and we completed the move swiftly. While packing Kyle's room, I stumbled upon something unexpected, an incomplete divorce form. It appeared Kyle had already started the process to leave me for Jessica. Seeing an opportunity, I filled in the remaining sections of the form and decided to keep it safe. Just then, my phone rang. It was my mother-in-law. Ashley, I knew some belongings were coming, but I didn't expect so many. What happened? She asked anxiously. Actually, Kyle has been having an affair. Do you remember Jessica from high school? It seems he had a child with her, I revealed, sensing her shock on the other end of the line. While I sympathized with her, I continued, unfortunately, I have evidence. I sent her the photo I had taken in the hospital room showing Jessica with the baby, with Kyle standing beside them. I don't want to believe it, but it's true. I don't want to believe it either, but it's the truth, my mother-in-law admitted quietly. I'm going to stay at my parents' house starting tonight, I informed her. After trying unsuccessfully to reach Kyle, my mother-in-law seemed troubled. She asked if I knew his whereabouts. Unable to contain my emotions, I blurted out, "He's no longer family to me." My mother-in-law seemed to understand my decision. That night, I took my belongings and returned to my childhood home, where I slept peacefully in my old room. The next morning, I received a message from Kyle. "Hey, the house is empty and there's a for sale sign up." "What's going on?" he asked. "Don't you understand? Your home isn't there anymore. For now, I've sent your things to your parents' house," I replied, firm in my decision to move forward without him. "I'm changing the locks tomorrow, so coming back will be pointless," I informed Kyle firmly. "What have you done? Let's talk, at least." I suppose we must. I'll come to your parents' house this afternoon. I'll contact your mother myself, Kyle responded urgently. I quickly ended the call and began preparing to go out that afternoon. Soon, all the relevant parties gathered at Kyle's parents' house. Kyle's parents, my parents, Kyle, and myself. My mother-in-law looked particularly pale but bravely started the conversation. Kyle, is it true that you're having an affair with your friend Jessica? She asked directly. An affair? No, Mom, we just started dating late, that's all, Kyle replied, attempting to downplay the situation. I'm not interested in excuses, and there's a child involved too. It seems you're quite compatible, my mother-in-law retorted sharply. The next moment, she shocked us all by punching Kyle. How could you do this? Ashley is pregnant with your child? How can you face her? She cried out in anguish. It was the first time I had seen Kyle's usually calm and sophisticated mother act like this. A trickle of blood ran from Kyle's nose, but he seemed unaware. Ow, what was that for? It's natural for a child to be born to a couple in love. How can you say such a thing? My mother-in-law continued, her voice trembling with emotion. Intervening in the argument, I spoke up. First of all, why did you even start dating Jessica? Kyle hesitated before answering. I ran into her at the station while I was out on sales calls. She had just returned to the US and was busy with her new job. She had a charm that you don't have. That doesn't sound like a reason to start dating. I've actually liked Jessica since high school, but I thought she was out of my league, so I settled for you, Kyle admitted selfishly, leaving me speechless at his blunt honesty. When I met Jessica again and we talked about the past, I realized she didn't think badly of me. There was no reason not to be together, Kyle added, revealing that he had kept his marriage to me a secret from Jessica. He had considered divorcing me when Jessica got pregnant, but around the same time, meeting at Kyle's parents' house, I had become pregnant too. Kyle didn't have the courage to divorce or the resolve to remarry, so things continued as they were. How can you be so selfish? Aren't you ashamed of juggling two women? Jessica and Ashley are completely different, Kyle's mother exclaimed, her anger palpable. Meeting Jessica again made me realize how unsatisfied I was with Ashley. I plan to remarry Jessica and step up as a man, Kyle responded defensively. Don't joke. I'm ashamed to call someone like you my son, his mother retorted angrily. If that's how you feel, we will sever our parent-child relationship. You're fired from the company too. From now on, live on your own. I don't care. I wondered silently. Kyle had always worked in our small family business. Would he be able to handle a different job? You don't understand anything. The only reason you could work until now was thanks to Ashley's beauty salon, his mother accused. Ashley's salon? That small country shop didn't have much to do with my performance, Kyle argued defensively. The only reason you managed to get any results was because Ashley's salon was promoting our products, you ungrateful person. His father interjected, his disappointment evident. They had been silently listening to the conversation until now. They declared regretfully that they would stop doing business with Kyle's company. It can't be helped. I'll start a new business. I'm still young, and if I study, I can do anything. Jessica will return to work soon after giving birth, so our new life will be secure, Kyle muttered into his smartphone. So he says. Suddenly Jessica's voice loudly exclaimed over the speaker. I had been connected to Jessica via a video call from the beginning of the meeting. Are you stupid? If I had known you were married to Ashley, I would never have dated you. I can't believe I ended up betraying Ashley too. Jessica continued, her disappointment and frustration evident. Your lack of foresight in this conversation is astonishing. Frankly, you have no talent as a business person, Jessica concluded, her tone cutting and final. I contacted Ashley and decided to join the discussion. I'm glad I listened in. I never want to see you again. Wait, don't leave me. Why should I stay with someone as awful as you? Kyle pleaded desperately. I'll raise the baby on my own, but I'll be taking child support, Jessica declared firmly. Kyle seemed to realize there was no convincing her. He turned to me, his face stained with dried blood, and begged, Ashley, I was wrong. Forget everything and let's raise our child together. I refuse to continue a marriage with such a scoundrel. I can't forget the terrible things you've done, I replied coldly, recalling the shock of seeing Kyle in Jessica's hospital room. Don't be so stubborn. Aren't you supposed to be the kind one? Kyle looked at me desperately. Shaking my head slowly, I said, "It's too convenient for you to come back to me just because things didn't work out with Jessica. But you'll have trouble raising the child on your own, won't you? I have a profession, and a father like you is more of a hindrance than a help. I'm not foolish enough to cling to a useless man." Having already discussed everything with my parents, who were fully supportive and had connections through their business, I presented the divorce papers I have found in Kyle's drawer. As you can see, I've prepared the divorce papers. All that's left is to submit them. Let's quickly settle the property division and child support. Wait, I have to pay Jessica, and now you too. Kyle's face fell as reality set in. Of course, I'm still your wife after all, but don't think you can neglect Jessica either. We have lawyers ready, I replied firmly. Kyle buried his face in his hands. Suddenly, I felt an unfamiliar pain in my abdomen. Ow, it hurts. At that moment, I realized I was going into labor. The meeting adjourned abruptly, and my parents rushed me to the hospital. Exhausted from the emotional turmoil of the meeting and childbirth, I collapsed into bed and slept deeply. Even when the nurses woke me, I was hardly aware. After being discharged, I returned to my parents' house with my baby. My mother, a discreet beautician, spread the word about Kyle's actions among her clients, primarily housewives. Her few words quickly spread throughout the town. Meanwhile, Kyle attempted to start an online sales company, underestimating the power of personal connections and relying on the internet. However, his abilities fell short compared to the strength of word of mouth. Unable to secure bank funding due to the rumors, his business failed to launch. Another blow came from Jessica, who had recorded the entire confrontation via video call. She edited Kyle's self-centered behavior into a short video and shared it with her high school classmates. As a result, Kyle lost all his friends and any remaining support. Left to fend for himself, Kyle was kicked out of his parents' house and ended up living in an internet cafe, depleting his savings. Struggling to find work and housing as an unemployed man with no fixed address, he eventually moved to a distant area. Kyle managed to find day labor but struggled with unfamiliar physical work. There was no mercy for him. I warned him that missing even one child support payment would lead to legal action for assaulting me while pregnant. The photos I took of my injuries and the medical records from the hospital visit would be substantial evidence. Submitting the divorce papers, I became a single mother almost simultaneously with giving birth. But I was not alone. I found a larger apartment and decided to live with Jessica. The four of us, Jessica, me, and our babies, started a new life together. The children get along like siblings, and Jessica and I, always best friends, grew even closer. With Kyle out of the picture, we supported each other with childcare, making work and personal time manageable. We're planning to make our public debut together when the kids are a bit older. For now, we're enjoying this comfortable life. As my niece and I settled in for a night of house sitting at my elder brother's place while he and his wife were away, a curious moment unfolded. Amid our lively discussions about our plans for the following day, my niece surprised me by indicating she was ready for bed. With swift determination, she slipped into the closet without hesitation, leaving me momentarily stunned. Hastily reaching out to stop her, I was met with a puzzled look. I'm Melissa, a 24-year-old housewife, and my brother, 5 years my senior, has always been a steadfast presence since we lost our parents early in life. Our bond remained strong even after we both married, and we continue to lean on each other for support. While my in-laws are wonderful, they reside in Alaska, making it challenging to rely on them for immediate assistance. As for my brother Sam and his wife, their union was hastily arranged after a clash with her parents, leading to an ongoing estrangement. With no nearby relatives to lean on, our bond of unwavering support flourished. It grew even stronger when Sam and his wife welcomed their daughter, closely followed by the arrival of a little girl into my own family 4 years later. Living in the same city, the daughters became inseparable, akin to true sisters. As the years passed and my niece Sarah approached her 10th birthday, Sam shared his plans for a special 10th wedding anniversary trip. "Melissa, would you mind looking after Sarah while we're away?" Sam's request came with a touch of hesitation. "It's just a short overnight trip nearby, but we thought it'd be nice to have some time alone." I readily agreed, eager to assist. When we discussed logistics and I inquired about picking up Sarah, Sam shook his head, indicating a different plan. It became clear he wanted me to stay over at their house with Sarah, concerned about leaving it unattended for security reasons. I playfully teased Sam about his excessive concern but eventually relented. Opting to spend the night alone, I left my daughter, who still harbors some sleepover jitters, in the care of my husband. On the day of their anniversary getaway, I headed to Sam's house. Holding Sarah's hand, we bid farewell to her parents. She seemed a tad apprehensive as she watched them depart, but our house-sitting escapade was about to commence. Initially, I had planned to bring my daughter along and have my husband retrieve her at bedtime. However, Sarah adamantly refused, so I abandoned the idea. While I know she enjoys my daughter's company, she remained firm in her decision without offering an explanation. Sensing her disappointment, I'd offered to treat her to a playdate at my house after breakfast the next day, sparking a glimmer of excitement in her eyes. Sarah typically tailors her play to include my daughter, so I brought along some slightly more intricate games and puzzles that adults could also enjoy. As I laid them out, I asked her what she fancied playing. We whiled away the hours engaged in games and cooking dinner together, yet Sarah remained by my side, casting nervous glances around the room. Initially, I attributed her behavior to potential loneliness or lingering nerves from being away from her parents, but even after several hours, her demeanor didn't shift. Concerned, I gently probed if something troubled her, but no matter how many times I inquired, her response remained the same. "No, it's nothing," without divulging further. Sarah's guarded behavior hinted at an unseen apprehension. It wasn't until bedtime approached that I grasped the gravity of her unease. Sarah slipped into her pajamas, a smile adorning her face as she swung open the closet door and declared her intention to turn in early, planning to head to my house in the morning. To my surprise, nestled within the closet was a bed, its presence catching me off guard. Attempting to make sense of the situation, I watched as Sarah swiftly settled onto the bed, bidding me good night while nudging the door close. My astonishment spilled out in a raised voice. "Wait, Sarah, are you planning to sleep in there?" Her response, delivered with a solemn expression, affirmed her decision. "Yes, but it's okay. I'll keep it slightly ajar. If anything happens, I'll wake up immediately." Concealing my bewilderment, I extended an invitation for Sarah to join me in my own bed. After some hesitation, she relented and joined me. She explained her desire to keep the bed in the closet as a hiding spot. Though perplexed by her reasoning, I reassured her it was perfectly acceptable. With a bright tone, I queried why she felt the need for a hiding spot. After extracting a promise from me not to chuckle, she leaned in and whispered, "The monster might come." At first, one might assume she was just an innocent child, but the tale she spun shattered any semblance of innocence. Sarah trembled, clinging tightly to my arm. "The monster is terrifying and cunning. It only shows up when Daddy's away. If it appears, Mommy has to fend it off, and I must stay hidden in the closet until she succeeds. Mommy always cries during the struggle." Once, I tried to assist her, but the monster's banging on the closet door scared me so much. I wrapped my arms around Sarah, feeling her tremble against me, and sighed deeply. Perhaps this monster was more than a bedtime tale. It felt too real. The revelation of my sister-in-law's affair, discovered in such an unexpected manner, left me adrift. If the supposed monster was indeed her lover, it wouldn't dare approach this house while she was absent. Yet Sarah firmly believed it targeted days when Daddy was away. As I observed Sarah's vigilance throughout the day, her proximity a shield against potential threats, my heart ached. Considering the gentle soul of my niece and my brother's unwavering trust in his wife, anger swelled within me towards my sister-in-law. But above all, I yearned to offer solace and reassurance to Sarah. I gently clasped Sarah's hand, offering her a reassuring smile. "Don't worry, Auntie's here today. You mentioned the monster is cunning, right? Well, it'll be caught off guard by a stranger like me and won't dare to come near the house. Besides, your mommy, who the monster always targets, is safe with Daddy right now, so it can't harm her." Despite my attempts to ease her anxiety, Sarah remained clouded with worry, unaware of the monster's true identity. With each passing moment, her apprehension grew, fearing an imminent attack. She suggested we seek refuge together in the closet, prompting me to encourage her to share her concerns about the monster. I hoped that by addressing her fears one by one, she would eventually find peace and drift off to sleep. As I listened to Sarah's distressing revelations, I realized I couldn't simply remain idle. Without hesitating, I whisked her out of the house, disregarding her attire, and swiftly drove us home. Upon arrival, I briefed my husband on the situation and coordinated for him and his friends to spend the night at Sam's house. Around 10 p.m., after my husband and his companions had departed, I received a call from Sam inquiring about Sarah's well-being. Has Sarah already retired for the night? Don't forget to take care of yourself and your family too. Ensure the house is securely locked. Good night, he advised before bidding farewell. After inquiring about Sarah, Sam urged me to ensure the door was securely locked before retiring for the night. His stern warning resonated deeply, and I fought to steady my voice as I assured him. Once the call ended, I glanced at the peaceful slumber of Sarah and my daughter, steeling myself to confront the lurking menace. The following morning, my husband returned from my brother's house, and my emotions swirled with a mixture of fear and anger as he recounted the events of the previous night. Relief washed over me, knowing my actions had been justified. We spent the remainder of the day at home, anxiously awaiting my brother and his wife's arrival to retrieve Sarah. Upon laying eyes on me, my brother's demeanor shifted to stern interrogation. He demanded to know why Sarah and I had departed his house during the night. Why didn't you stay put as I instructed? I explicitly warned you not to leave. You claim to understand, so what possessed you to return home on your own? His accusations left me feeling uneasy, prompting me to question how, while on a trip, he was aware of our absence. Avoiding direct eye contact, he reluctantly confessed, "We provided Sarah with a smartphone equipped with GPS." His revelation contradicted his earlier insistence on not leaving the house during our phone call the previous night. If he had indeed monitored the GPS, he would have easily discerned our departure. Suppressing my urge to confront Sam then and there, I maintained a composed demeanor, mindful not to disturb the children in the adjacent room. "By the way, did you have visitors last night?" My brother's tone shifted, his concern palpable. "Two unfamiliar men showed up at your house late. Who are they? Why would they come to a house that's meant to be occupied only by Sarah and you in the dead of night?" His voice quivered, though not from fear of the unknown intruders, but from a different source altogether. As he spoke, it became evident he was treading cautiously, his eyes darting around. "About those men," I pressed for clarification, but my brother's attempts at evasion were interrupted by his wife, Kate. Whether she was anxious about further discussion or for other reasons, she abruptly called for Sarah and declared they were heading home. As Sarah emerged from another room upon hearing her mother's call, Kate seized her hand with an unmistakable force. Abruptly, Sam's demeanor shifted, his words carrying an abrupt finality. "I can't forgive what happened, but we're leaving today," he declared, urging Sarah to depart the room. Despite my efforts to dissuade them, my brother and his wife remained resolute in their decision to leave. Ignoring my pleas, they pressed on without a backward glance. Witnessing Sarah's resistance to her parents' departure, I swiftly drew her close. "What's going on?" Kate's startled cry echoed as she released Sarah's hand, but I shielded the child behind me, creating a barrier between us and the departing couple. Amidst their hostile tirade, my husband and I stood firm, adamantly refusing to surrender Sarah. As they advanced toward us with fury in their eyes, we managed to usher them out of the room, firmly asserting our stance against allowing Sarah to be taken away. Swiftly, a waiting police officer intervened, promptly detaining the agitated couple. Confusion reigned as the officers attempted to contact my brother and his wife. Sam vehemently insisted to the officer that it was we who should be detained, alleging that we had taken Sarah from her home and were holding her against her will. "My sister and her husband have abducted her from her rightful place. Please rescue her swiftly," he implored, despite our protests. Our daughter, emerging from the chaos, sought refuge behind me, engaging Sarah in a bewildered conversation, affirming she was not being held against her will. Sam's stern demand for Sarah to accompany him fell on deaf ears as she clung to my side, paralyzed by her father's towering anger. Kate remained silent beside the officer, casting furtive glances at Sam, hinting at an unspoken message intended for him and Sarah. As the officer restrained Sam, who was causing a scene at the entrance, my husband intervened, holding his smartphone aloft. Sensing the tension, I ushered Sarah and our daughter back into the adjacent room, urging them to close the door to muffle any sounds. With their safety ensured, my husband silently played a video he had recorded in my brother's house the previous night. As the footage unfolded before their eyes, a ghostly pallor washed over the couple's faces, betraying the shock of realization. The video unfolded with eerie precision, capturing the quiet turning of the house key followed by the stealthy entrance of two unknown men, seemingly armed with a duplicate key. Their jovial demeanor upon entering, coupled with mentions of my brother's name, sent shivers down our spines. "You guys are ghosts too, huh?" they quipped, followed by a chilling joke about discounted rates, invoking my familial connection. With smirks etched across their faces, they directed their attention to my husband and his friends. Evading direct inquiries, my husband's friend offered a vague response, prompting one of the men to boast about the sum paid, hinting at a close relationship with my brother and his wife. Their unsettling remarks took a darker turn as they casually mentioned their plans involving Sarah. As the camera caught a glimpse of their profile, a sinister aura emanated, rendering them more villainous than any mere monster. From my vantage point, the screen remained obscured, but the chilling audio alone sent shivers down my spine. Following the playback, my husband's friends wasted no time interrogating the intruders, probing into their frequent visits and habitual pairings. Their inquiries soon turned to Sarah and me, a sense of urgency tainting their tone. My husband's terse admission of our absence seemed to jolt the intruders into reality, realizing the gravity of their situation. With mounting tension, the men made a hasty exit, their hurried departure leaving lingering questions in their wake. Whether they had overlooked my husband's recording until the last moment or deliberately concealed its existence remained unclear. My brother, appearing visibly shaken, vehemently protested his ignorance, clinging to the belief that he was being framed. However, the damning evidence presented in the video, entrusted to me and young Sarah by my brother, shattered any lingering doubts. His feigned ignorance failed to sway anyone, leading to his apprehension by the authorities. Kate, though feigning innocence, found herself under scrutiny as well, her involvement questioned by the officers who had heard Sarah's testimony. Consequently, both Sam and Kate were escorted into custody, their roles in the unfolding drama under intense scrutiny. During the police investigation, Sam and Kate eventually came clean, leading to their arrest. Shockingly, Kate had been orchestrating the lucrative scheme, inviting men to their home while Sam was away at work and profiting from their visits. When she realized there was a demand for children, she exploited Sarah, carefully skirting the law to assist her mother, who was under pressure from unsavory individuals. Innocent Sarah, unaware of the sinister motives, innocently posed for photos which Kate used to entice potential clients. These were innocent snapshots, devoid of any suggestive content, captured with a disposable camera and only lent out to interested parties, never sold. While I detested Kate for her actions initially, it seemed like a matter that didn't directly concern my husband and me. However, things took a darker turn when Sam not only condemned but actively participated in the exploitation, rather than reprimanding his wife or protecting their daughter. So, instead of addressing the issue, Sam decided to expand the operation, recruiting men to become clients, believing that more employees would lead to increased revenue. With this simple yet flawed logic, he devised a plan to involve me in his business. Knowing I would never willingly agree, he resorted to coercion, using the threat of exposing the photos as leverage. Their scheme took a sinister turn when they carefully selected a day when the neighbors were absent, locking both Sarah and me inside their house. Then, without a second thought, they exchanged their house key for a large sum of money and departed on a pre-planned vacation, leaving us behind. Unbeknownst to them, Sarah, who had always dutifully obeyed their commands, chose to reveal the truth in order to protect me. Despite her limited understanding of the conversations, Sarah sensed the danger lurking around us, and she confided in me, unveiling the nightmarish reality of Sam's household. Faced with this revelation, I implored my husband to capture the perpetrator's activities on camera that very night. Their inadvertent disclosure provided crucial evidence for the police, prompting swift action upon my report. Simultaneously, I notified Child Welfare Services to ensure Sarah's safety. From the vantage point of the police bus, we watched as Sam and Kate were apprehended at their doorstep, finally shielding Sarah from their grasp. Despite being first-time offenders, the severity of their crimes, including violations of child welfare and anti-prostitution laws, warranted their imprisonment. The police emphasized the gravity of the situation, particularly the implications of the stored images of the child, which could never be completely eradicated once leaked online. The chilling reality of their actions struck me to the core as the police relayed this information. Fortunately, Kate hadn't digitized or sold the photos of Sarah and had kept them securely stored, averting any potential leaks. It's baffling to comprehend how my once kind and dependable brother Sam could devolve into such a monstrous figure. Until then, our relationship had been characterized by mutual support, making it all the more frightening to realize how deeply he had descended into darkness. Despite their arrests, I still grapple with the enormity of their actions. Following Sam and Kate's apprehension, the authorities also interrogated the other individuals involved. Initially, they attempted to claim innocence, arguing that it was merely an attempted crime. However, the discovery of a child's photograph in their possession and the revelation of additional criminal activities confessed by Sam and Kate during the investigation led to their arrest on multiple charges. After dealing with the monsters and their associates, our next concern was Sarah's well-being. With both her parents unfit for guardianship and no family willing to step in, Child Protective Services decided to remove her from their care. While this was a relief, Sam and I faced the harsh reality that neither of us had parental figures, and Kate's family had severed ties. We discovered that if we couldn't find a suitable guardian within Kate's family, Sarah would be placed in foster care. After much deliberation with my husband, we made the decision to adopt her. Sarah held a special place in my heart, and I couldn't bear the thought of parting ways with her. Thankfully, my husband shared my sentiment, and we saw this as an opportunity to start anew in the countryside, closer to my in-laws. Moving to the countryside not only provided Sarah with stability but also allowed my daughter to spend more time with her grandparents, whom she adored. She was thrilled to have Sarah as her older sister, fulfilling her long-standing wish. Free from the clutches of her parents, Sarah quickly adapted to her new role and environment, embracing a life filled with peace and happiness.